Looking back now, I should have seen the red flags sooner. But when you trust someone, especially someone who's supposed to be mentoring you, you don't expect them to stab you in the back and steal everything you've worked for. My name's Rachel, and I'm a social media strategist. Or at least I was. Back in early 2025, I was working at a small marketing consulting firm. Nothing fancy, just a tight-knit team helping businesses grow their online presence. I loved my job. I was good at it too. For about 6 weeks, I'd been working on this massive project. A huge retail brand wanted to completely overhaul their social media strategy. We're talking about a contract worth around $50,000. Not life-changing money for the firm, but for me, that project could have meant a promotion, a raise, maybe even my own team to manage. I spent every spare moment on that strategy. Late nights researching their target audience. Weekends analyzing what their competitors were doing. I built an entire content calendar from scratch, created mock posts, designed graphics. I even put together sample campaigns showing exactly how we'd grow their engagement over the next year. James was my team lead. Technically my supervisor. He'd been at the firm longer than me, so he was supposed to guide my work and give feedback. The thing is, James barely showed up. He'd pop into our weekly status meetings, nod along while I presented my progress, and then disappear again. I'd send him updates, and he'd reply with "looks good" or "keep going." I didn't mind. Honestly, I worked better without someone micromanaging me. And I trusted him. He was my colleague. My supervisor. Why wouldn't I trust him? About a week before the big client pitch, I sent James the full presentation. Everything. My research, my strategy, my designs. All neatly packaged in a Google Drive link. I asked for his feedback so I could polish it before we presented to the client together. He replied within an hour. "This is great work, Rachel. Really solid. I'll review it this weekend and we'll finalize everything Monday." I felt proud. Excited, even. This was my moment. Then, 3 days before the scheduled pitch, I got an email. Not from James. From the client. The retail brand's marketing director wrote, "Hi Rachel, just wanted to confirm, we're looking forward to seeing James's social media strategy presentation this Friday. Thanks for all your support on this project." I stared at my screen. James's strategy presentation? I read the email again. Then a third time. Something wasn't right. Our pitch was scheduled for Friday. Why did the client think James was presenting his strategy? Why was I being thanked for my support like I was some kind of assistant? I walked over to James's desk. Tried to keep my voice calm. "Hey James, I just got a weird email from the client. They mentioned your strategy presentation on Friday. I thought we were presenting together." He didn't even look up from his computer. "Oh yeah, I scheduled a separate meeting with them. Thought it might be good to show different perspectives. You know, give them options." Different perspectives? I'd been developing this strategy for 6 weeks. What other perspective was there? "What do you mean, different perspectives?" "This is my strategy we've been working on." "Our strategy," he corrected, finally glancing up. "Team effort, remember?" That's when I knew. That sick, sinking feeling in your gut when you realize something's very wrong. I went back to my desk and opened our shared Google Drive. Found the folder with my presentation. Clicked on the file activity log. James had downloaded the entire presentation 2 days ago, at around 10 p.m. Then I saw it. A new file in his personal drive folder, which I had access to from a previous project. Same presentation. Same content. Same everything. Except the name at the bottom of every slide now said, "Created by James Morrison." My hands started shaking. He'd taken my work. All of it. And put his name on it. I closed my laptop, took a deep breath, walked outside and called my best friend Sarah. "He stole it," I said the second she picked up. "James stole my entire project." Sarah had heard me talk about this strategy for weeks. She knew how much work I'd put in. She knew how much it meant to me. "What do you mean he stole it?" I explained everything. The email. The downloaded files. The renamed presentation. "Rachel, you need to document everything. Right now. Before he knows you're onto him." She was right. I couldn't just confront him. I needed proof. Hard evidence that this was my work, not his. I went home that night and didn't sleep. Instead, I spent hours gathering every single piece of evidence I could find. First, the Google Drive activity logs. I took screenshots of every timestamp showing when I created each document, when I edited it, when James accessed it. The data was clear. I'd created every single file. James had only viewed them during our status meetings and when he downloaded everything 2 days ago. Then I went through my emails. Found every message where I'd sent James updates. Every presentation I'd shared. Every question I'd asked. In all of them, I was clearly the one driving the project. James was just nodding along. Next, I checked our project management software. Every task for this project was assigned to me. Every deadline I'd met. Every milestone I'd completed. James's name wasn't attached to a single deliverable. I even had text messages. Screenshots of conversations where James had praised my work. "Great job on the research," one read. "Your content ideas are perfect," said another. The evidence was overwhelming. This was my project. My strategy. My work. But I needed to make sure the client knew that. I drafted an email to the retail brand's marketing director. Kept it professional. Factual. "Hi Amanda, I wanted to reach out regarding the strategy presentation scheduled for Friday. I've been the lead strategist developing this social media plan for the past 6 weeks. I created all the research, competitive analysis, content calendars, and creative frameworks. I have complete documentation showing my development process. I just wanted to clarify this before the meeting, since I believe there may be some confusion about who developed the strategy. I'm happy to walk you through my work directly." I read it over about 10 times. Made sure it didn't sound bitter or accusatory. Just clear and factual. Then I hit send. Amanda replied within 30 minutes. "Rachel, thank you for reaching out. This is concerning. Can you send me the documentation you mentioned? I'd like to review it before our meeting with James." I sent her everything. The Google Drive activity logs. The email threads. The project management screenshots. All of it. She didn't reply immediately. I figured she needed time to review. Meanwhile, I called my friend who worked in HR at a bigger firm. Asked her what my options were. "If he presents your work as his own, that's intellectual property theft," she said. "Your firm should have policies about this. You need to file a formal complaint. But also, document everything he says or does from this point forward." I thanked her and hung up. Then I started preparing my next move. James didn't know what was coming. The next morning, I went into the office early. Printed out every single piece of evidence. Organized it into a folder. Made copies. One for me, one for HR, one for my records. Then I scheduled a meeting with our HR director. Same day. I wasn't waiting around. "Rachel, come in," Karen said when I arrived at her office. She was in her 50s, been with the company for years. She'd always been fair from what I'd seen. "I need to file a formal complaint," I started. "My team lead, James Morrison, has stolen my work and is presenting it as his own to a client." I watched her face change. Concern. Then something else. Maybe recognition. "Tell me everything," she said. I walked her through the entire situation. Showed her the documentation. The Google Drive logs. The emails. The text messages. Everything. Karen took notes. Asked questions. Looked at every piece of evidence carefully. "This is serious," she finally said. "If what you're saying is accurate, and this documentation is pretty compelling, this is a major violation of company policy and professional ethics." "What happens now?" I asked. "I'm going to review this with our legal team and the partners. In the meantime, I need you to send me digital copies of everything you just showed me. And Rachel? Don't confront James directly. Let us handle this." I nodded. But I wasn't planning to just sit back and wait. That afternoon, Amanda from the retail brand called me. "Rachel, I reviewed the documentation you sent. I have to say, I'm extremely concerned. The evidence clearly shows you developed this strategy. But James scheduled this meeting with us claiming it was his work." "I know," I said. "I only found out a few days ago. Here's what I'd like to do," Amanda continued. "I'm going to reschedule James's Friday meeting. Instead, I want you to present the strategy directly. You created it. You should be the one presenting it." Relief washed over me. "Thank you. I really appreciate that. And Rachel? I'm going to need to speak with your firm's management about this situation. We take intellectual property and professional integrity very seriously. If James misrepresented his role in this project to us, that's a problem. I gave her our managing partner's direct contact information. Figured if this was going to blow up, it might as well blow up properly. That night, I got a call from our managing partner, David. Rachel, Karen briefed me on the situation with James. I've reviewed your documentation. I want you to know we're taking this very seriously. We have a meeting scheduled with James tomorrow morning. I'd like you to be there. What kind of meeting? I asked. An investigative meeting. We need to hear his side. But based on the evidence you've provided, this doesn't look good for him. The next day, I walked into that conference room with Karen, David, and 2 other partners. James was already sitting there. He looked confused. Annoyed, even. What's this about? He asked. David didn't waste time. James, we've received a complaint from Rachel regarding the client presentation scheduled for Friday. She's alleging that you've taken credit for her work. We'd like to hear your response. James's face went pale. He glanced at me, then back at David. I don't know what she's talking about. This was a team project. We both worked on it. That's interesting, David said. Because the documentation Rachel provided shows she created every single component of this strategy. The Google Drive activity logs show you only viewed the files during status meetings and downloaded them 2 days ago. The project management system shows all tasks assigned to Rachel. And the emails show Rachel leading all client communication and strategy development. James shifted in his seat. Well, I provided guidance. I'm her team lead. My strategic input shaped the project. Karen spoke up. Can you provide any documentation showing your contributions? Emails where you provided strategic direction? Edits you made to the presentation? Task completions in the project management system? Silence. James, David continued, we also spoke with the client. You scheduled a meeting with them claiming you developed the strategy. You renamed Rachel's presentation with your name as the creator. Is that accurate? I was just trying to present it professionally, James stammered. The client expects to hear from senior team members, not junior strategists. So you admit you took Rachel's work and presented it as your own? Karen asked. More silence. This meeting is over, David said. James, you're being placed on administrative leave effective immediately while we complete our investigation. You're not to contact the client or access any project files. We'll be in touch. James stood up, looked at me with this mix of anger and desperation, then left without saying anything. David turned to me. Rachel, you did the right thing by bringing this forward. We're going to handle this appropriately. In the meantime, I want you to present your strategy to the client as planned. This is your work. You deserve the credit. I walked out of that conference room feeling something I hadn't felt in days. Power. Control. Justice. But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. A few days later, our firm held our monthly all-hands meeting. Everyone attended. All the consultants, the partners, the support staff. It was usually pretty routine. Updates on company performance, new clients, that kind of thing. Except this time, David had added an item to the agenda. Personnel update and policy reminder. James was still on administrative leave. Word had spread that something had happened, but most people didn't know the details. I sat near the back of the conference room, watched as David stood up to address everyone. Before we get into our regular updates, I want to address something important. Recently, we had an incident involving intellectual property theft and misrepresentation to a client. This is a serious violation of our professional standards and company policy. You could feel the energy shift in the room. People started glancing around, wondering who he was talking about. After a thorough investigation, we determined that a team lead attempted to take credit for a colleague's work and misrepresented their role to a client. As a result, that individual is no longer with the firm. The room went silent. I want to be absolutely clear, David continued. We will not tolerate intellectual property theft, credit stealing, or misrepresentation in any form. If you contribute to a project, you get credit. If you supervise a project, you acknowledge your team's work. This is non-negotiable. He looked directly at me. I also want to recognize Rachel Chin. She's been promoted to strategy director, effective immediately. She'll be managing the retail brand account she developed, along with several other key clients. Rachel's dedication, creativity, and integrity represent exactly what we value at this firm. Everyone started clapping. A few people near me turned around to congratulate me. I felt vindicated, respected, valued. But the real confrontation was still coming. That evening, I got a message on LinkedIn. From James. Rachel, we need to talk. What happened wasn't fair. You ruined my career over a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? He was calling stealing my work a misunderstanding? I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I took a screenshot and sent it to David and Karen. Wanted them to see he was trying to contact me. Then I replied. Kept it short. James, you took 6 weeks of my work, put your name on it, and tried to steal a $50,000 contract. That's not a misunderstanding. That's theft. You did this to yourself. He replied within minutes. Longer message this time. I was under so much pressure. My last few projects didn't go well. I needed a win. I thought if I presented the strategy, the client would trust it more coming from someone with more experience. I was going to give you credit eventually. I almost laughed. He was going to give me credit eventually? After he secured the contract under his name? You weren't going to give me credit, I wrote back. You renamed the entire presentation with your name. You told the client it was your strategy. You scheduled a meeting without telling me. None of that was an accident. Please, he replied. Can we meet and talk about this? I lost my job. I can't find work anywhere. Everyone in the industry knows what happened. That last sentence confirmed what I'd suspected. Word had spread. Our industry was small. People talked. James's reputation was destroyed. I'm not meeting with you, I typed. You made your choices. These are the consequences. He kept messaging, getting more desperate each time. You don't understand what you've done to me. I have a family. I have bills. You could have just talked to me instead of going to HR. I didn't respond to any of it. Just kept taking screenshots and sending them to David and Karen. Finally, David called me. Rachel, I've seen the messages James has been sending you. He's violating the terms of his separation agreement by contacting you. Our legal team is handling it. Block him on everything and don't respond. I blocked him. On LinkedIn, on my phone, on email. Done. A week later, Amanda from the retail brand invited me to their offices to present the final strategy to their executive team. This was it. The moment I'd been working toward. I walked into their conference room. Amanda was there along with their CEO, CMO, and a few other executives. Rachel, Amanda started, before you present, I want to say something. When we first engaged with your firm, we expected to work with James based on his experience level. But after learning what happened and seeing your work ethic and integrity, we specifically requested you as our lead strategist. Your documentation and professionalism through this entire situation impressed us. I smiled. Thank you. I appreciate that. I presented my strategy, walked them through every element. The research, the audience insights, the content calendar, the growth projections. Everything I'd spent 6 weeks developing. They loved it. Asked questions. Gave feedback. By the end of the meeting, they'd approved the full strategy and expanded the contract scope. We're increasing the contract value to around $60,000, their CEO said. And we're adding a performance bonus structure. If you hit the engagement targets you've outlined, there's an additional $15,000 available. I couldn't believe it. Not only did I keep the contract James tried to steal, I'd just secured an even bigger deal. When I got back to the office, David called me into his office. Rachel, I just got off the phone with the client. They're thrilled with you. They've also asked if you're available for an ongoing consulting arrangement beyond this initial project. I'd love that, I said. There's something else, David continued. The retail brand mentioned they'd be willing to provide a testimonial for you. And they specifically noted that the situation with James actually increased their confidence in our firm because of how we handled it. They appreciate that we took accountability and made it right. In the end, the situation that could have destroyed my career ended up launching it. That was about 8 months ago now. James? Last I heard, he's working at some tiny agency making maybe half what he used to earn. His LinkedIn profile barely gets updated anymore. A few mutual connections told me he struggled to land anything substantial since word got out about what he did. The retail brand account I fought for? It's grown into one of our firm's biggest clients. They've referred 3 other companies to us. All of them specifically requested to work with me. My promotion to strategy director came with about a $22,000 raise. But the real win was getting control over my own projects and team. No more supervisors who take credit. No more working in someone else's shadow. The client paid me an additional $12,000 as a consulting fee for the strategy development work I'd done before the contract was even signed. They said it was only fair since I'd done all the work. And that LinkedIn post I made? The one about documenting your creative work? It went viral. Over 2,000 shares. More than 400 comments from people sharing their own stories about credit theft and workplace betrayal. 3 different consulting firms reached out trying to recruit me. I stayed at my current firm, but it was nice knowing I had options. And it gave me leverage to negotiate better terms for my IP and project ownership. I also started doing some side consulting, helping other creative professionals document their work and protect themselves from situations like mine. Teaching them how to build evidence, communicate with clients directly, and stand up for themselves when someone tries to steal their ideas. One thing I learned through all this: trust is important, but documentation is essential. I now keep detailed records of every project, every email, every contribution. Not because I expect people to steal from me, but because I'm never going to be in a position where I can't prove my work is mine. I also learned that staying silent doesn't protect you. When I found out what James was doing, part of me wanted to just let it go. Avoid confrontation. Keep my head down. But that would have meant letting him steal my work and damage my career. Standing up for myself was the best decision I ever made. The firm implemented new policies too. All project contributions are now clearly documented in our system. Client presentations include attribution for all team members. And supervisors are required to acknowledge their team's work in client communications. James tried to reach out one more time about 6 months ago. Sent me an email from a new address asking if I'd give him a reference for a job he was applying for. I didn't respond. Some people only learn when they lose everything. And James lost everything because he tried to take what wasn't his. These days, I'm thriving. My career is exactly where I wanted it to be. I'm respected. I'm valued. And most importantly, I own my work and my reputation. Do I regret how it all went down? Not even a little. James made his choices. He could have been a real mentor. He could have supported my work and helped me grow. Instead, he tried to steal my success. He got exactly what he deserved. And I got what I earned. If you're reading this and you've ever had someone try to take credit for your work, here's my advice. Document everything, speak up immediately, and don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Your work is yours. Protect it. Because in the end, the truth always comes out. You just have to make sure you have the receipts to prove it.